Jones. Here we talk about wrestling, everything inside the ropes. Well, Crowd Check Chronicle, 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 starring Mother Chairman Jones. Hey.
That's right. It's the Crowd Chant Chronicles starring me, Molly B. Jones, your host for the show. Before I get into it, introduce my guest, I want to just say that I had a lovely time at AEW Dynasty. It was a ball. And if you're out there and you have never been to a pro wrestling show, find a show to go, whether it's WrestleMania or just some small show. But before we get into it and talk about what we're talking about today, we're continuing our WrestleMania series. I want to give a shout out to my sponsors. My first sponsor, we're definitely going to be talking about a animal, or maybe a few, but definitely one animal I know about. If you have some animal furry friends that you need to get them treats or goodies or warm clothes for the fall. I know people put their dogs in hoodies. I've seen it before. Check out my friend's Dog Venture. You can check them out online, DOGVENTURE. Hey, maybe you want some bling like John Cena had back in the day. Maybe you want a chain. Check out my friend Lady Monopar at ladymonopar.creations.bigcartel.com. And lastly, if you need some Latino heat and you need some heat on your food, maybe you want to spice up your tacos, check out my friend Brian's Hot Sauce at brianshotsaucepa.com. If you haven't noticed from the clue, I talked about Animal, I talked about John Cena, I talked about Eddie Guerrero. This episode of the WrestleMania series, I think this is episode 4. This is the Ruthless Aggression moment in WrestleMania, which is 19 to 24. If you didn't know about Ruthless Aggression, it was the period after Attitude Era. It's when we start seeing a lot of newer stars kind of step up and doing their thing. Triple H had a huge reign during this time with the World Heavyweight Championship. He also had Evolution. We had a whole bunch of new superstars that were coming into the limelight that we'll talk about on this episode. But before we get into talking about all that, I want to introduce my sponsor, my host, excuse me. It's been a long, long day. My first host, been on every episode, Diamond Dallas Barb. What does the Ruthless Aggression era of pro wrestling or of these WrestleManias, what does it mean to you?
It's really hard to explain. To me, the Ruthless Aggression era was really, really, really when I could fully remember. This is grabbing the brass frickin' ring, going out there and just taking it. That is what the Ruthless Aggression era means to me. Just Vince McMahon said it best. Go grab that brass ring. And that's what it is. Just don't take shit from nobody and just go after it.
All right, I love that definition. A new guest to the show. You may know him from TikTok. He goes on live on TikTok. Always a come in, join a friend. Joe Dallas, welcome to the show. And what does the Ruthless Aggression era mean to you?
I think basically it was just like it was the perfect thing after the Attitude Era, where all the young guys were finally getting their turn, because Austin and Rock are pretty much gone at that point. So Eddie Guerrero, John Cena, all those guys just kind of took over, and it's arguable which one is actually the better era, I think.
That could absolutely be an argument and a debate. A lot of people say that WrestleMania 17 is the best WrestleMania out there. hands down. I'm not going to debate that. What I'm going to talk about is I think this era, the Ruthless Aggression, is probably the best era of WrestleManias from 19 to 24. You had a lot of great events. WrestleMania 20 was great. 21, WrestleMania Goes to Hollywood. It introducing a lot of newer people coming to the limelight, you know, the Batistas and John Cena's, and also the guys that never got their heyday, the Eddie Guerreros and the, yes, I'm going to say his name on this podcast during this episode, the Chris Benoit's. I know he did horrible things, but at that time in wrestling, at this time, he didn't really have a world title championship run until, you know, WrestleMania 20. They kind of saw something in him. So Ruthless Aggression had a lot of big storylines that would go later on and build later on with some of these guys, but it was a point in the WWE where they were trying to show a new character of what they were going to do, planning for the future, that certain wrestlers would get accepted at a WrestleMania and have a world championship, as opposed to let's give it to Hulk Hogan the first 7 WrestleManias or whatever it was. So this is a different time. As if you haven't noticed, watching these, if you're watching first of all, if you're watching my WrestleMania series and you subscribed, I love you. Thank you for doing it. If you haven't noticed, we have been doing questions every episode, and we're going to continue those questions on this episode. So let's get down to it. I'm going to ask Joe Dallas this question first. And Joe, the question I'm going to ask you is, what is the best WrestleMania match in this era of 19 to 24?
Okay, so I was debating on whether to go which one, but I'm gonna go with Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. Just because I remember watching that match and it was just an amazing match and all the emotion wrapped up in it, and Shawn Michaels finally getting the win, Chris Jericho giving him the hug, and then, you know, hitting him in the nuts and stuff. It was just, that match was so good to me. Like, I love that match.
I think that match was a wrestling purist match almost. You had 2 of the top guys in the business at that point, and one of them was already a legend, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Jericho loved him and emulated him in a way. That match was fantastic, one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. Diamond Dallas Barb, what to you is the best WrestleMania match in this era of 1924, the Ruthless Aggression era?
I'm going to have to go with Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. I feel this is, in my opinion, the first time that I really saw a wrestling match that wasn't just I guess in a sense, traditional. I mean, it was a submission match, but obviously, um, Kurt Angle, he came from amateur wrestling and everything like that, and I really felt this showed off a lot of Shawn Michaels' brilliant mind in the ring, in a sense, because he really understands ring psychology and studying his opponent. And Shawn Michaels did it. He really, really, really studied Kurt Angle and his wrestling ability. And to me, I felt like it really was a story. There was a slow build to this match and everything like that. And then it picked up, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and obviously Kurt Angle isn't new to the business at this point, but I feel he's still a little green at this time period in WWE. And when it, to me, it was just perfection. And I enjoy HBK in the ring, and this is what really kind of caught my eye with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle always being that person that was kind of following Triple H around and everything like that and stuff. And this is, to me, where he finally came out on his own, and I loved it. Um, the and like I told you, it's like a story. It was like a almost a full 30-minute match, just being No titles on the line, nothing. It's just a submission match. And to me, this is one of those underrated matches, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people say this match is overrated, but I think this match is truly underrated, especially if you look behind the actual wrestling and you really focus on how hard HBK studied and the different types of style in this match, and Shawn Michaels becoming more of a mat wrestler, and I enjoyed that.
The only thing I didn't enjoy about this whole match you're talking about right now is that they didn't continue the storyline. I think there was a lot more that they could have. Sometimes I think WWE they'll get a lemon and instead they got a grapefruit. What I mean by that is they squeezed a little bit out when they could squeeze a whole lot more out. This was a great WrestleMania match. I really enjoyed it. Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, and I think they could have had more. I think they could have had more matches. That's one thing about it. But I didn't. Both those matches, I'm not gonna lie. Both those matches, fantastic. Both those are fantastic matches. I just went a different way with my answer. My answer. Um, this is kind of the like one thing that you'll see about me. Certain matches, the end of an era is something that I'm excited for. And if you do it the right way, I'm happy. What match am I talking about when I say that? Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania 19. They were trading finishers. At one point, Austin put the Stone Cold vest. Rock put the Stone Cold vest on and did a little Austin strut and did stunner to him. This match was fantastic, and from 100% positive that this was their last wrestling match encounter. They may have been in the ring at the same time and shared beers and stuff, but this was their last wrestling match encounter. And I'm not against the Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match. Fantastic match. We knew on paper it was going to be great. I think it surpassed that. Shawn Michaels, HBK taking on Chris Jericho, Y2J. Great match also. I just went a different way because I felt like the end of an era, the end of Stone Cold's era, was kind of how the Ruthless Aggression era became. Austin left. They had to find a new star. They did find it with certain people. And this match was fantastic. I usually retirement matches with a tiny little swivel with some other wrestlers out there that we'll be talking about that retired at WrestleMania. Some of them have been trash. This is actually the way to go out. Stone Cold went out in the best way possible. Let's move on. And the sad thing about this is these WrestleManias, there were so many great matches. However, what was the worst WrestleMania match in this era? Diamond Dallas Barb, I'm going to ask you that question first.
There was two that I really kind of really pinpointed as being kind of really, really bad. But ultimately the choice that I made, and I think we'll probably bring up the other match, so I'm not going to really say it, but the match that I went with was Candice Michelle versus Tori Wilson in that pillow fight at Mania 22. This is just like, at this time period, unfortunately, it's just models, and we don't really have. It's like in the last episode that I said, like, I felt like women's wrestling was picking up really well and we were being able to showcase women's wrestling. But this time period is pretty awful for women as well. Just pillow fights at Mania. It's just really, I get the whole thing of these women being able to um grace the cover of Playboy and stuff like that. Um, Men everywhere love that. But I don't feel like this should have been a Mania thing. It's like, can we disgrace women wrestling any more than this? It's just awful. Just plain awful.
I get that you say it's awful, but you got also look at the talent. Like, what are you looking for out of a match with the talent they had back then? Like, what kind of match would you like? You get what I'm saying? Like, they didn't have
Well,
the
I get that. I get
okay,
what you're saying and stuff
okay,
like that. But look at Candice Michelle in this match.
okay.
Candice Michelle, not very too long after, she finally, I feel that she took the disgrace that were these matches because she still played into her sexiness and stuff like that. But Candice Michelle turned into a beast in the ring. She did. She is quite
Hold,
underrated for her
hold,
wrestling ability.
hold on there. You got to look at some Candice Michelle clips because there are a lot of botches that she has. Quite a lot. That's
The thing
one
is,
person I
but
remember
the
is she
thing
botched
is,
a lot.
but look, but you also have to understand in a sense that she was turning a new leaf and everything, but then she ended up retiring not too long after and everything. But if you really, all women have botches, especially at the
100%.
very, very beginning of their careers,
Yes.
and stuff like that. So when you're only fully wrestling for, I think she had literally, when she started having really good matches and becoming a women's champion and stuff like that, it was legit. I think it was only like a year that she fully would like came into herself with wrestling and stuff like that. So for what she did in just a short amount of time, like trying to become an actual full-time wrestler and being like, yeah, this ain't gonna fly with me. I want more than just I want more than just pillow fights at Mania and stuff like that. She did amazing. She did. And unfortunately, she didn't get to continue that. I don't know why she fully retired, probably the broken collarbone or something like that. But um she was she became a little beast in the ring while she was like not just being a model in the ring.
I just feel like if she was fine being like a sexy character and she did have some botches, maybe they did know about something. Maybe they were trying to make sure she didn't have like crazy gigantic match, which could she could botch a lot of Mania and mess up. Maybe they did try to go the safe route, so nothing bad would happen to her character, and wrestlers wouldn't turn. The fans can turn against you pretty quick. I've seen it. Trust me. So
Yeah.
that's. But I'm not against this match. I mean, this is not a great match. I'll give you that. Like I'll give you it. I just feel like maybe there's more out there of why it's not like I sometimes look at a match. I'm going to talk about the match I didn't like in a minute, but I sometimes look at a match like why didn't I like that? What did they do that I didn't see that I didn't understand what they did out there? Here I kind of understood it. Like, hey, Candice Michelle, she's green. Tori Wilson, she's done a whole bunch of different things, but she's also kind of green. She's not like the best wrestler in the world. All right, let's put them in this like thing to keep the men's every men watching, every little teenage boy watching, and keep the show going. That's why I think they did it. I don't think I think it. I understand why you could see it being a bad match show. I understand your opinion and your thought with that. Joe Dallas, let's go to you. What was the worst WrestleMania match in this era to you?
I'm gonna say WrestleMania 20, Bill Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, just because they were both leaving, the fans knew it, and neither one of excuse me, neither one of them seemed to care to be there because that match was boring as shit. And if the referee is the biggest part of the match, the only person getting a pop in the match is the referee, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like that's a problem. And I looked through all the matches, and that was the one that kind of just I never have ever gone back and watched that match because it was that bad.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the matches that they thought the crowd was going to kind of control, and the crowd was pissed. They were not happy, and that comes, as much as something I don't read, but it comes because I do not. I don't. I'd rather just watch a show. That comes across with the dirt sheets. I think the dirt sheets put a lot of stuff out there that they maybe shouldn't have put out. Yes, we knew Brock Lesnar was leaving and Goldberg was leaving. And Austin was also, I don't think he was like fully full time. I think he might have been a part time kind of guy at that point. So, yeah, I remember this match. I remember this event, WrestleMania 20. I had the 2 discs set to watch it on the DVD, and I just think like this match is so toxic. This now shows what some people out in the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community, whether it's on TikTok or Dirt Sheets, there are people out there that are very toxic about spoiling stuff, and I think spoiling about who was leaving at what time didn't help. And I think that also this match wasn't booked correctly. You know, you had 2 monsters, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, and you kind of just threw them in a match with Austin. It was a disaster before the bell rung. Let's just put it that way. I went a different route. And the reason I went a different route with this is because sometimes as a wrestling fan, we'll be like, oh, I hope they do this kind of match. And they don't do that match. And then later on they do it and it's gold. And you're like, hey, why did they not do this type of match at this event? The match I'm talking about, it was a 8-man tag from WrestleMania 23, the ECW originals, and I have it right here, so I'm definitely going to tell you who all of them are. Don't you worry, because I love ECW, and why would I not do that? But the ECW original, the team was Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and the Sandman. They defeated the new breed of Elijah Burke, Marcus Corvan, who you're like, who's that? Monty Brown, Matt Striker, and Kevin Thorne were Ariel. Um, the reason I didn't like this match is I think it should have been from the beginning. It should have been a hardcore match. They actually did it later on ECW on when it was on Sci-Fi. They did they did a hardcore match. I think the New Breed actually won that match. I'm not positive of that, but the pay-per-view match was kind of and you're kind of putting like 4 hardcore wrestlers in an 8-man tag, which there were no tag matches in ECW. Everyone just came out in the ring and caused havoc. There was no tag ins. Like you would very rarely see a tag in. Very, very rarely. So it was just kind of weird to put this match on the card. I knew that they were doing a storyline with the New Breed versus ECW originals, but it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And when I wanted it to be hardcore and they didn't do it, it kind of just ruined everything for me. Anybody got anything to say, or we can move on? Whatever you like.
We can move on.
All right, we can move on. Let's move on to. I think everyone's going to have the same answer for this. Let's see what happens. Joe Dallas, what was the best gimmick match in the Ruthless Aggression era of WrestleMania 19 to 24?
See, I think I know what you're thinking we're gonna say, but I'm not gonna say the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm gonna say the hardcore match between Edge and Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22. Because that was like in my mind, that was peak Edge. That was when Edge was that's when he was at the top. He had Lita in his corner and they beat the hell out of each other, and then the flaming table spot, like that was I had to go with that match.
All right, I understand why people are going to pick Money in the Bank, or they're going to pick this match. I had a feeling that was one of the other matches that could have been picked. Barb, what did you go with best gimmick match for this era?
I went with the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. That is, first of all, that was a pop. I loved the concept of the Money in the Bank ladder match, and it gave a new twist to WWE, and it's like, what are you gonna do with it? What are you gonna do with it? And it's just whenever you get ladders or anything like that, it's a phenomenal match. We have mentioned ladder matches in the past being some of our favorites and being some of our best gimmick matches and everything like that. But now you're adding a whole bunch of people, and it's just the craziness that went on in that match. It just definitely it stands the test of time. We still have ladder match, or we still have the Money in the Bank today. And it kind of changed wrestling a little bit too. When you have something that goes over so well like that and it stands the test of time, where we still have it today, it's you have something special.
The Money in the Bank match was very special at that WrestleMania 21. I also took that match, and that's the reason I took it. It was the first Money in the Bank ever. Seeing Edge win it was something big too, because I thought about that. I'm like, wow, Edge won it. Edge was not doing squat diddly around this time, and he was definitely a major star during the Ruthless Aggression era. And it was cool to see this match. Like Barb said, we've seen ladder matches with one people, two people, tag teams. Now we see it with a whole bunch of guys that nobody's on a team, and it was really cool the way they did it. The Shelton Benjamin spots I'll still remember more than other Money in the Bank ladder matches, and I had to pick that. Nothing against the Mick Foley Edge hardcore match, was a great match, but I have that on the list somewhere else. Let's moving forward. During this is a time where we're not fully getting there, but we're getting there. A resurgence of women's pro wrestling has happened during the Attitude Ruthless Aggression era, where women are actually not just, like Barb said earlier, being paraded around in Playboy bunny matches. They're actually having matches. So, but Barb, why don't we do you this time? Let's do Barb. What was the best women's match in this era?
I would have to say it was Mickie James versus Trish Stratus for the women's title at WrestleMania 22. At this point, Trish Stratus is no longer green. She can kick butt in the ring. She no longer has that stereotype of just being a sports model anymore. And Mickie James, phenomenal wrestler. Even having moments like, you guys know what moment I'm talking about. It was
No, I don't. So
amazing.
wait, so I don't. But what are you talking about? Explain to me what you're talking about. Go ahead. Come on.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, this podcast. I always put that this podcast is not made for children. So please elaborate. What are you talking about? I don't really know what you're talking about.
Mickie James grabbing Trish Stratus in a no-no square and then literally licking her fingers, basically.
Okay. Now with not laughing is try that again, but don't laugh as much. Let's see if you can do it. Go ahead.
Mickie James
There you go.
grabbing Trish Stratus
Oh my
in
God.
her no-no square and then licking her fingers. I feel that I know some people did not like that. I enjoyed that very, very much because it basically, how do I put this? It just that moment. People still reference it today. It's just those little moments that were like shocking. And it's not just the women in the ring performing, it's them doing antics like that definitely, like, did that really just happen? And at this point, we kind of know Trish could possibly be on her way out of wrestling, and Mickie James, like, I have followed her career way before WWE and everything like that. Mickie James is very, very green to WWE, but she is not green to wrestling. And this is that match that was not just, how do I put this? This is probably, I feel at this point in time, the very best women's match that has ever been seen at WrestleMania. And then having then having the biggest baby face in Trish Stratus losing this title to Mickey James was a shocker. And nobody thought that was going to happen because Mickey James being the psycho, you thought, okay, yeah, Trish Stratus is going to win. But she didn't. And it was fun to me. And that's when I really took notice to women's wrestling.
I gotta pick your brain for one moment because I'm very confused. Okay, so Candice Michelle had a bad match, you said, with Tori Wilson because it was a Playboy pillow fight, right? But
Yeah.
but in the same way, wouldn't you say like what Mickey James did, and she did something else? I think like smacking Trish Stratus's butt or something. I can't remember what she did, but wouldn't those moments of licking the vajayjay kind of type thing and smacking her butt, wouldn't that like you're saying it's the best WrestleMania women's WrestleMania match in in at this time during this history? Don't those moments where Mickey James did things, those moments in the match that she did, doesn't that make the match? Doesn't it bring it like? How does it not put it on the same level as Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle's match?
Because I feel like there's a difference in situations like that. Because it's, first of all, it's Mickey James's character. She's psycho at this point. Um, and stuff like that. But I think it's this bye-bye situation with, yeah, we're not gonna do these bad matches. I feel like it's making fun in a sense of this pillow fight. In a sense, that's how I interpreted it. It's, you could still have fun moments in that ring versus having a full-on pillow fight. I mean, these women were killing it in the ring. They weren't slapping each other with pillows. It's wrestling. It's not a pillow fight. That's where I'm getting at. But it's also, when I say Mickey James being psychotic and everything like that, I'm a huge, huge freaking fan of DC and in particular Harley Quinn and everything, and her being this psycho in a sense and everything like that. And if you ever seen Psycho Women and stuff like that too, especially like on the big screen and in television and stuff like that, they do similar antics like this and stuff like that. Doesn't discredit them being a badass. It doesn't.
Not at all. It's funny that both these matches that you like the match you enjoyed Mickey James and Trish Stratus for the women's championship and the pillow fight happened on the same pay-per-view. Did you know that?
Yes,
I
Mania
think that's
22.
funny. I think that's so funny that you're like, I enjoyed this match, and this match I hate, and they're on the same pay-per-view. That's funny to me. Joe Dallas, let's move to you. Do you have the same answer always? I mean, also as the best women's match in this era. What was it to you?
Yeah, in my mind, Mickey James, Trish Stratus, that's the only choice in my mind anyway. And I just remember the build up to that match. The build up was so great with the, psycho Mickey James and all the lesbian stuff, lesbian undertones she was doing and whatever. Like I really enjoyed that match, and the match was really good on top of it. Like the build up was good, the match was good, and then like when the crowd like literally turned and started cheering for Mickey halfway through the match, like I remember being watching that match and just being like on the edge of my seat that entire match. Like that's really the only choice in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few other women's matches that could have been picked, but this is obviously the number one choice. I mean, one thing about WrestleMania, and it's always been happening since the beginning is the crowd. The crowd, we'll pick and choose who we want to win. You can make them the bad guy. We're still going to like it. And I think Mickie James really did a great role in her stalker character. You almost wanted to like her instead of hate her. And this is probably it's fun because usually on the episodes we've been doing, everybody's been I also agree. This is the first question that we all agreed. So I like that. Excuse me, have hiccups right there. Let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna start with you, Joe Dallas. What is the best tag team match in this Ruthless Aggression era of WrestleMania 19 to 24 to you?
So I honestly struggled very hard with this one, and I it's I guess it's kind of a gimmick match as well, but I got to go with Evolution versus the Rock and Sock Connection at WrestleMania 20, because like that's the only one that I could even. I looked at all the matches. That's the only tag team match I could even remember watching. So like it's kind of a gimmick match more than the tag team match, but that's what I had to go with.
I mean, even though it's like a handicap match, they did tag in and out. Like there were tag team aspects to it. This was a great match. WrestleMania 20 just leaves a weird taste in my mouth because you know why. And just because I feel like some of the matches were like it was like let's build a big card, but let's not rush any storylines as opposed to what they do now. That's the only reason I'm not the biggest fan of WrestleMania 20. But not a bad pick at all. Evolution versus the Rock and Sock Connection, great match. And this is when The Rock is actually coming back to WWE during one of his movie time to make a movie time. Let me leave for a few months. Barb, what was the best tag team match in this era to you?
I'm gonna have to go with Team Angle versus Los Guerreros versus Rhino and he who shall not be named.
No, we
Um,
can say his name. It's all right. We can say his name on this episode because I feel like he's going to come up a lot. We can say it here.
Chris Benoit. I actually really enjoyed this match. I know it wasn't very long of a match, but at this time, I kind of noticed something kind of when I was going through a lot of these matches and stuff like that. There wasn't that many tag team matches during the Ruthless Aggression era. There was, I think there was maybe a total of like 4 or 5. Um, and I kind of understand and see where Joe Dallas is coming from with this 2-on-3 handicap match. There there wasn't very many to pick from. It's like I know at the very beginning of this series and everything, we did a lot of there wasn't many women's matches to choose from. This era, I think there was more women's matches during this era than there was tag team matches. And I remember the Evolution match and uh the Rock and Sock Connection, but this is the match that I like when you said Ruthless Aggression era, I said Team Angle, Team Angle, Los Guerreros, Rhino, and Chris Benoit. At this point, Chris Jericho and Rhino, like there's a history there and everything. Los Guerreros, that's family right there. And then Team Angle, they're this point they're up and coming and stuff like that. They got Kurt Angle in their back pocket, being their like mentor and stuff like that. And it gave this whole dynamic to this match that I really enjoyed. I mean, Team Angle, they're very technical wrestlers. They're very mat heavy. Los Guerreros, they're more, I don't want to say high flying or anything like that, but you have that lucha libre ness to them. They're not, I don't want to say these two guys are very lucha libre. They're not, they don't really carry that full Mexican flair, but it's there. It really is. And then the dynamic of Rhino and Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit being more of a submission technician. And then you have Rhino, just Rhino's one of those people that is really weird to me because I feel like he does a lot of stuff. He's just, I guess, he's just a typical wrestler. He 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 is kind of technical, but a little high fly, but then just powerful. And that gore, I people underrate the gore a lot, and the gore is definitely some of the best spears I've seen. Um, so their kind of mix in a team kind of really um was interesting. But I really enjoyed this match.
I think with this match, I also picked this match, and like you said, I had to because there weren't many tag team matches. I think with this match though, they missed out. I think it's because of some injuries and some things on the card they were doing at the time. If you don't remember WrestleMania Survivor Series of that year, um, is when the SmackDown 6 was like hardcore and heavy. If you don't know SmackDown 6, it was Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Rey Mysterio, Edge, and the Guerreros. And I think they wanted that match to kind of showcase at WrestleMania, but I think they did it at Survivor Series. And at that time, the tag team division was changing so much in the WWE that it was kind of cool to see these guys instead, people that wouldn't always have a chance. The world's greatest tag team and Rhino be part of that match. And it's a great match. I mean, there's not many tag matches to pick from, but this is not one that I'm not, not upset about picking. We had quite a lot of champions being crowned, and some of them we're going to be talking about right now. I have a feeling, but because it's the question of the best champion crowning in this era of the Ruthless Aggression era of WrestleMania 19 to 24. I'm kind of interested to see what everybody's gonna who are we all gonna answer about. Is it gonna be somebody different, or are we all getting the same? So Joe Dallas, what was the best champion crowning in this era to you?
I debated on it, but I think John Cena winning the WWE Championship for the first time at WrestleMania 21, being it's like 20 years now, and he's possibly going to get the 17th world title. Like, I think that was the way to go. I did think about Chris Benoit, but I think in the long run, John Cena is more important, I guess. Yeah, so I went with John Cena.
If Chris Benoit doesn't do what he did, do you think he would possibly be on the same path as John Cena? Do you think that would have happened from everything that WrestleMania 20 brought? Do you think that Chris Benoit could have been,
Yeah,
been what John
probably.
Cena is?
Yeah, probably. He would have continued to be a huge star in the company, but obviously it didn't work out that way.
Obviously, it did not. Barb, what about you? What was the best champion crowning in the Ruthless Aggression era?
Um, I have to agree with Joe Dallas. I think it definitely is John Cena winning the WWE Championship from JBL at WrestleMania 21. I for It was one of those things. It's like JBL was that bastardly heel, and you just wanted him to lose his title so bad. And John Cena, he everybody just loved John Cena at this point and everything. And this is the birth of John Cena. This era is the birth of John Cena. And him winning that him winning the WWE Championship and that ending with him just celebrating in the crowd, just literally laying on top of fans. It was so special. And then now looking back at what has happened since then, with he's a 16-time world champion. He is going into this WrestleMania WrestleMania 41, possibly going to win his 17th, possibly going to be literally the greatest WWE champion to ever exist, and everything like that. I think he already is. If you take consideration that he is tied with Ric Flair, Ric Flair didn't win those championships in WWE. So the thing is, being that it is strictly WWE and everything, I think John Cena is the greatest WWE champion to ever exist. And this was the birth of that.
Whoa, whoa,
And
whoa,
the
whoa,
problem,
whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down there, sister. You're getting a little heavy there. Talking about John Cena is the best champion in the history of WWE. Now, things are different now. Championships aren't held the same way. But you're saying that John Cena is better than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
there's there's always aspects, there's always different, I guess, categories that you
Okay.
can list under greatest champions and everything like that.
Okay.
You have to talk about feuds that has happened. You have to talk about the length of these reigns.
I know what
You
you're getting at. I know what you're getting at, but
Yeah,
I'm asking you a question because you said something, and I want to get the answer out of you. You're saying that John Cena is a better champion than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I do believe so. Yes.
That's just crazy talk to me, but that's okay. It's just crazy
Do you
talk.
want me to explain why?
No, I know why you're going to explain why because of 17 world titles, and he did it all
No,
in
that's not
WWE.
necessarily it.
Okay, go ahead then.
Yes. Yes. One aspect of it is he has held the championship. Take Ric Flair out of it, because to me, I feel like he shouldn't even be in talks with 16 times. Yes, he is 16. But the thing is, those didn't happen in WWE. John Cena's all his title reigns has happened in the WWE. John Cena has created some of the in best rivalries that people can remember. He's
Yes.
had amazing rivalries with Edge. He's had amazing rivalries with um Randy Orton. One of the best rivalries of all time is the fans. And
Well,
but then also look at John Cena in a separate aspect too. John Cena, he a lot of his world title reigns were very, very long. I mean, I think his first, uh, not thinking, you guys know me and I have to think about things for long periods of time and stuff like that because I hold lots of information in my brain. But I think this world title reign too was over 365 days, slightly over a year. Um, he has consistently held these titles for long periods of time where they weren't just oh, not like a Charlotte Flair and everything like that, where oh, she wins the title, loses the title the next night, wins the title and then loses the title the next night. He held these titles for long periods of time and everything like that. He is a bona fide Hall of Famer. This is the birth of that. And he took the title off of this bastardly heel that nobody loved, that everybody just wanted to just take the title away from him. Nobody wants him as champion anymore. And John Cena did that. He became our hero that night. And it was an amazing moment. And I know, like, you're gonna talk about Chris Benoit and why did I choose this match too. I'll tell you this, regardless of the situation of what he did and everything like that, I don't want to get into that too much, but I don't think he even, in my opinion, I don't think his world heavyweight championship win the year prior is as spectacular as what John Cena and this title reign win, or this title win, did for the company and everything. Because you have to think, before he even did all of that stuff, he got booted down to ECW. And yeah, you have these draft lotteries, blah blah blah. He got drafted over there,
You're
blah blah
talking
blah.
about Chris Benoit got drafted to ECW.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the thing is, I felt the company at that point didn't trust him. They didn't trust him and everything like that. And this is before any of that. He had wellness issues, and he had all of these issues where obviously the company is going to look at you. Are you reliable? I don't think he was a reliable champion, and I think the WWE knew that. So people say it's a wonderful moment, and yeah, at the moment it was. But if you look back at it and stuff like that, is what John Cena did for the company. How did that title win feel against that? It is better by a long shot, and you can't compare the two.
All I'm gonna say is, if he wins, this will be his 17th title reign. Yes.
Yes.
If you win the belt 16 times, you got to lose the belt 16 times. So that's all I'm going to say about John Cena. But no, I'm going to give my answer now. And I had to really think about this for a lot of reasons. And I think I would have loved to pick Chris Benoit. I really would have loved to. I would have loved to pick it, but it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth with everything that happened. And Barb didn't want to talk about it. And since I'm the host, I am going to talk about it. Sadly, Chris Benoit killed his wife and his son, and then sadly killed himself. And it's a topic I don't really like to discuss in my lives. I don't like to get into it because there's too many people conspiracy in it. And I know there's certain things out there that could be conspiracy in this snap, but at the end of the day, the thing that I think most about is that Chris Benoit's wife was somebody's sister. It was somebody's daughter. It was somebody's aunt. It was somebody's cousin. Chris Benoit's son was somebody's brother, was somebody's nephew, was somebody's cousin. Um, when you get into conspiracies and start thinking about what happened with what, you start thinking about how are you respecting those people's family members who have had this horrible tragedy happen to them, and now you're speaking the conspiracy. They have different thoughts of what Chris Benoit was like. We don't know. So that title run, this leaves it was a very happy moment. Him and Eddie Guerrero in the ring, both their titles, best friends and everything. Great moment. But what happened after it, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth since that. When John Cena, I think this should have been the main event of WrestleMania 21. John Cena was so over. It wasn't the main event. It was Batista and Triple H doing it instead. They were, Batista and John Cena both kind of won the Royal Rumble, then they restarted it, and then Batista won. I think they went the wrong route. They should have had John Cena close the show. It would have been a huge moment. Not saying that it wasn't. John Cena is a wrestler that we know more so one of the main wrestlers besides Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angles and Rob Van Dam's. He's one of the wrestlers we know for the Ruthless Aggression era. And it is a title win. And JBL, I don't think people, Barb, you said people were hating him. He was a hated heel. I think it was just time at that point. Eddie Guerrero had his win, then JBL took it, and JBL fought one of those heel runs where he fights like four big baby faces. At that point, it was like, all right, bro, you're done. You're gonna lose. And it was John Cena's time. And like I said, this should have been the main event of WrestleMania 21. It wasn't. It's kind of funny that we're talking about WrestleMania 21, and it's going to be WrestleMania 41, and John Cena again is in the main event of WrestleMania. But that'll be for the ending episode, just so everybody knows who's listening. The last episode we'll be talking about the Triple H era, and there's only been 2 WrestleManias in that era. We'll more so just be talking about the moments we liked and previewing the show. So come back for that, where we talk about John Cena and Cody Rhodes. But let's move it on. Barb, we'll do you this question. What was the best celebrity appearance in this era of the Ruthless Aggression WrestleMania?
You have to go with Floyd Money Mayweather. I mean, it's like really when you think about WWE and celebrity appearances at this time, he's really the only one that you could pinpoint that had a good appearance. I mean, yeah, you have like Akibono, but that was I thought people were going to bring that up earlier, but that was just a poopy scoop of a situation with the Big Show, and it's just like, no, thank you. Um, but he performed at WrestleMania, and he did a good showing, and it was definitely this. You have Floyd Money Mayweather being an amazing boxer, and then you have uh sorry, I lost my train of thought. um
The Big Show.
yes, the Big
Okay,
Show. Sorry.
I'm like, wait, you're forgetting the Big Show? Like he's 700 pounds, like 7 feet tall. How? Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. I got distracted for a second. But he he performed. I mean, look at these two competitors. They not in the slightest where it was a fair fight, in my opinion. But then again, Mayweather has those hands on him, and this wasn't a boxing match or anything like that. This was a no disqualification match, and he KO'd Big Show big time. A good moment.
A fun celebrity moment. I agree. Joe Dallas, what was your favorite celebrity moment in this WrestleMania era of 19 to 24?
So I'm gonna go WrestleMania 19. As a teenager, I live in New England, and I was walking around wearing a backwards red Yankees hat for 3 fucking years because I was such a big Limp Bizkit fan. So I'm going with Limp Bizkit at WrestleMania 19 when they perform the song, the theme song, perform the Undertaker down to the ring. I'm sure the listeners might not like that one because Limp Bizkit gets a lot of hate, but I love Limp Bizkit, so that's what I went with.
Screw the listeners. This is the second time. One thing that WrestleMania, thank you for my listeners, but screw you if you don't like this idea, because one thing that WrestleMania always tries to do is they try to do different entrances and have musicians come in, whether they're a violinist or just a regular guitar player, or they're a full band. And I remember this entrance. It was a great entrance, and it was something that really got the crowd was kind of like in the beginning of WrestleMania 19. I feel like they weren't fully in it. I think this got the crowd more into it, and it was something great. And, as we're going to see, hopefully going on, I think this is the second person on this WrestleMania series to bring up a musical act playing the band to the ring, which is surprising because we've seen Motorhead, wasn't talked about. We've seen at this point, I'm trying to think, WrestleMania 20, there was somebody, I can't remember. WrestleMania 2000, we had Ice-T, the rapper, play Godfather and D-Lo to the ring, but we haven't really talked much about that, which hopefully maybe it'll come up in the next few episodes. But I do like that pick. WrestleMania, having a band play is way better than any little music tape or DVD you're gonna pop in to play the song for the rest of the ring. Always like that crowd. I went with Barb just because the Floyd Money Mayweather match. I think making it no disqualification made that a fair fight. If it wasn't, Big Show probably would have destroyed him. And I really respect Big Show. If you look at Big Show's career, a little bit after that is when he starts really kind of slowing down. He's coming out of the ring. He's having a lot more 6-man tag matches, which are kind of showing that he's getting there. He's getting to the point of retirement. I think he's kind of half retired, half announcing now. I'm not fully positive with that, but this was like probably one of the last good Big Show matches, and that he let Floyd Money Mayweather go over. I mean, that's something that Andre the Giant, God bless him, if he still was alive, he would have definitely been letting celebrities, win against him at WrestleMania. Something always cool. I know we have a bunch of celebrities in fewer episodes that actually get in the ring, but I like how the WrestleMania evolution has been people that were backstage announcers or ring announcers or timekeepers, and now the celebrities are actually getting in the ring. Awesome. I love it. Let's move to the next question. And we're going to go to you, Joe Dallas. What was the best WrestleMania moment in this era? I always talk about matches and moments. I love moments and I love matches too. But what was the best WrestleMania moment in this Ruthless Aggression era to you, Joe Dallas?
So I was trying to figure that out last night. I was thinking of it. The one I kept going back to was, I believe it was WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair, when he said, he looked at Ric Flair in the face and said, "I'm sorry, I love you," and then he super kicked him and beat him and retired him, but he's not, obviously didn't stay retired. But that, the emotion of that, that was a great moment to me. That was one of the best moments ever to me.
The Nature Boy being retired by Shawn Michaels, you're talking about.
Yes.
That's a great moment. I mean, the only thing that would got me is like, why is everybody crying? Stop it. The man's not like going in a coffin, but I understand it. And that Ric Flair retiring, a long career for him. Diamond Dallas Barb, what was the best WrestleMania moment in this era to you? Are you still there, or did you go get cookies, or have to feed your children, or have to read a trivia book? There you are. Hello, welcome back, Miss Trivia.
I have to agree. What I have written down is, "I'm sorry, I love you." It was a very sad moment. Um, Obviously, Ric Flair, it just the emotions behind it. He did not want. He did not want to leave. He didn't want to retire, and just he kept getting back up and being as old as he is. It was shocking. And this match was not a bad match at all. But that moment is just, oh God, it tugs on your heartstrings, and it's one of those other moments that is just still replayed to this day, and people talk about it still. And you will, and that wasn't even like a mic. It was like said on the mic. You just saw it. You saw the pain, and it was one of those moments that you still know what he said. "I'm sorry, I love you," and then he ended it. The career of Ric Flair. Granted, we know at this time now it's not the end of his career.
Just
But
about, thank you. Just about what I was going to say. This was not Ric Flair's match. Ric Flair retired. What year is this WrestleMania? Hold on, let me check real quick because I have Ric Flair up to tell everyone when his last match is. But let me just see when this WrestleMania was. What was it? 24? Yeah. Let me just see what year that was. It was the year 2008. And Ric Flair has finally retired from wrestling 2022. So this is not Ric Flair's last match. It is silliness. And I know people are going to say, well, it was Ric Flair's last match in WWE. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. He had a bunch of other tag team matches and stuff. So, like, I don't know. I couldn't pick this moment as being the greatest moment in, the best moment in the Ruthless Aggression era, because, like, Ric Flair retiring by Shawn Michaels, that's not, if Shawn Michaels would have been like, screw you, Flair, and like super kicked his head off and then pinned him, I'd be like, damn, that was some ruthless aggression. But to me, it felt like it was more like, here's kind of like, you can see Ric Flair is like retiring. Shawn Michaels not that far behind him. So I felt like this match didn't really make sense to the ruthless aggression. It didn't like do anything for me. It was just like, okay, here's old Ric Flair getting beat by soon to be old Shawn Michaels, who's not that far away from retiring, also in a good match, but like, it didn't really do anything for me. Now, if Ric Flair straight up, like, if they had lawyers come in with a table at the end of that match and were like, sign this that you'll never ever wrestle anywhere again. This is your last match. And Ric Flair signed it. I'd be like, all right. But I told my friend right after it happened, I was like, he'll be back in 6 months. And he was like, nah, no, he won't. And then 4 months later, he was back in the ring, like wrestling. And I was like, see, Ric Flair, come on. This is Ric Flair. He needs money. He needs to live his lavish life no matter how much money it wants. The moment for me that really kind of shot the Ruthless Aggression up to it was Mick. I'm surprised nobody talked about it earlier. Nobody talked about it during this. Kind of surprised me. Is Mick Foley being speared in through the flaming table? I mean, the Attitude Era, yes, they were using more chairs and ladders and blood and stuff. Ruthless Aggression Era is where we really started seeing, we started seeing we started seeing like people getting thrown through glass, tables being used every match. Here is a flaming table. There was barbed wire used in this match. Later on, they have an ECW, I think it's a 6-person hardcore tag match with Beulah involved, and it gets more violent. Ruthless Aggression, people think about it with John Cena and stuff like that, but then also the matches, the match types, what was it called? 3 Stages of Hell, where they had a Hell in a Cell match, then a ladder match, then a no disqualification match, all in one big match. The match types were changing more during Ruthless Aggression. So that's why I took this, because it kind of like showed how wrestling was evolving. I see why both you guys, everyone loves Ric Flair. I see why you both did it. The thing to me was that wasn't his retirement match. He definitely came back after that, and it was like, come on, Rick. Come on. What you doing? Just retire. You don't have to wait till someone's worried. Like, I think during his last match, they had a doctor come out and like check him. Bro, if people are checking you, you need to you should have retired a long time ago. Just be a manager. You're Ric Flair. Everyone loves you. We don't need to see you wrestle. Anybody got anything to say before I move on? Or do you want to comment about me picking Mick Foley getting speared through a flaming table over Ric Flair's retirement?
Nope. We good.
Nope.
All right, cool. I love it. All right, so the next thing that we got, and this is a great question, was what was the best all-around WrestleMania in this era? Joe Dallas, what was the best WrestleMania to you in this Ruthless Aggression era?
I think it's got to be WrestleMania 21. I mean, that's Eddie Guerrero's last WrestleMania. You had Undertaker, Randy Orton. You had John Cena and Batista becoming champion for the first time. Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, like that. I don't think any other WrestleMania card can touch that one. That could be the greatest WrestleMania of all time.
Whoa! Don't get too crazy there, everybody.
I said could be.
Everybody that loved WrestleMania 17 just got immediately like triggered, like our eye was twitching. Like, what? What'd you say? What'd you say was the best one?
I will say, like, WrestleMania 17 is my favorite WrestleMania of all time, but like 21 is at least a close second, in my opinion.
Okay, I like that. That's not a bad answer at all. 21's a really good one. Barb, what was the best WrestleMania in this Ruthless Aggression era to you?
My eye twitched when he said that.
That's
what I said.
Bringing out the twitchies, going after her boyfriend Stone Cold. Watch out. She got twitchy.
17 is my favorite. I had a little twitch in my eye on that one. No, but I think WrestleMania 21 was the best. I don't think any of these manias were really bad per se. But 21 was definitely really good. I feel like it was a very, very consistent card. And like Joe said, you had 2 of the biggest stars of the Ruthless Aggression era winning their first championships, major championships, and stuff like that. So it was a really good night, and it very consistent card, and I really enjoyed it.
If the Evolution match was a little bit better and the Brock Lesnar Goldberg match wasn't a pile of crap, and if Chris Benoit didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth, I would have picked WrestleMania 20. But WrestleMania 21 is the perfect answer. It's Money in the Bank. Guerrero and Rey Mysterio opening up the pay-per-view. Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, you can't go wrong with that. And then you had the two winners, Batista and John Cena. Which I mean, this is if you would pick, like, we're not going to do it obviously because we got a big series here. But if we were going to pick like what match or what WrestleMania is perfect for this era, this would be the one. This is the WrestleMania that the Ruthless Aggression era lived on and branded on. This could be called, if it wasn't called WrestleMania Goes to Hollywood, it could be like WrestleMania, the Ruthless Aggression era one, because that's what I feel like it is. Perfect WrestleMania, one of the best ones. My eye didn't twitch during the WrestleMania 17 one because I love so many WrestleManias. What's that?
Oh, but also look at it this way. When at the beginning of the episode, I told you it was the era of grab the brass ring. So that's what Batista and John Cena did. They grabbed that brass ring and
100%.
they ran with it. They really took it. And two of the biggest guys coming out of that the 2002 OVW class and everything like that. This cemented that these guys, they were going to make stars for themselves, and they really took those words and by heart, and that's what they did. They grabbed that brass ring, and look at them now. They're two of the biggest names in wrestling history and the world. I
Batista. Batista is one of the biggest guys in wrestling history. Okay, go ahead.
You didn't fully listen to me.
Go
I
ahead.
said, and the world. Batista also has gone. I'm not saying with just WWE with Batista and everything like that, but Batista's name. You know his name.
Because I watch pro wrestling. If I went up to somebody on the street and I was like, "Yo, who's Batista?" They would go, "The baseball player." They would have no idea. Maybe people.
No,
People might even say that.
he has gone on to also make a name for himself outside of WWE. I have asked a lot of people this, and if they don't know him from wrestling, they sure know him for freaking movies and things like that.
Me and Barb are gonna have to have an episode where I live in I just moved to an area where people are walking all over the place every day. So I'm gonna have to ask people, can I film you? And after I film them, I'm gonna say, who's Dave Batista? And see how many people go, I don't know who that is. Or people go, oh, I know him from so and so obscure movie that didn't win any awards. I'm gonna see how many people know Dave Batista, because I think you're giving us wrestling fans will know everybody for the most part, depending on what we have watched. But not every person out there they know John Cena. They don't know Dave Batista. I feel different about that.
I think you're underestimating that, but okay, regardless.
Regardless, you're funny. All right, let's move on to the next question, and that is, what is the worst all around WrestleMania in this era of the Ruthless Aggression? Let's see. I think everybody's gonna have the same answer, but let's see. Joe Dallas.
I think I'm going with WrestleMania 23, honestly, because the Battle of the Billionaires, whatever, and I honestly don't even remember many of the other matches on that card. All the other ones I think were just a lot better. I mean, it probably had a couple good matches in it, but other than, I think all the other ones were better, in my opinion.
Okay, so you're kind of taking the by default, like this is the worst one out of all the other
pretty
ones.
Much.
Okay,
pretty
that's
much,
fine
because they were all pretty good.
That's
opinion.
fine. I have my own reasoning, but I got what you're saying. You're right. Ruthless Aggression 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. They were all great events. Diamond Dallas Barb, what's your answer for this, the worst WrestleMania in this Ruthless Aggression era?
I went with 23 as well. I feel like I said when I gave you my biggest one, none of these none of these manias were bad. They were all good. I remember pretty much everything about all of these. It's kind of one of those just I guess how do I put this? I mean, yeah, you did have that lumberjack match, and then I mean, I didn't per se like the Great Khali versus Kane match, and then you also had the ECW originals versus the New Breed. Um, and then you also had that Lumberjill match, and stuff. But it was none of these matches were that bad. I mean, they're not like the worst matches ever to exist. So like Joe Dallas, I just chose 23 by default.
A lot of poopy scoopies. Lot of poopy scoopies. That's what I'm going to say out of WrestleMania 23. There were a lot of poopy scoopy matches. Mr. Kennedy winning Money in the Bank. It went nowhere. I'm pretty sure he got injured and Edge beat him for it. Great Khali fought Kane. I don't know why we're doing that. Benoit versus MVP. Could have been a good match. They only got 9 minutes, though. So, Undertaker, Batista, that's a good point. Then we had the ECW originals, like I talked about, versus the New Breed. Junk. Then we had a haircut match, which I don't care about people's hair. I really don't. That doesn't roll my life. I don't need to know if somebody's wearing a toupee or not. I don't care about that. So this was stupid to have Bobby Lashley and Umaga, who by themselves in a WrestleMania match could have been amazing. But adding this Battle of the Billionaires hair versus hair match where Stone Cold shaved Vince McMahon bald and Donald Trump was helping. I don't get into politics. Don't worry. I'm not that kind of show. I only talk about pro wrestling. But to me, this match could kind of, it's a weird thing. It's like two billionaires are over there like, yeah, let's have, let's pick our own fighters. Let's see what's going to happen. It was very ego driven. And it's just not, I know there's egos in pro wrestling, but just not for me. Then we had a Lumberjill match where Melina defeated Ashley. Okay. They got 3 minutes. So yeah, okay. And then John Cena versus Shawn Michaels got 28 minutes. A great match. Probably the only match on this card that's good. I don't know what happened with WrestleMania 23. There were no issues with it. There was a lot of money being spent. I tried to look to see what the issue was. Why did they fail on this? There's nothing really out there. There wasn't any that big injuries that happened that year. Usually that reflects on a WrestleMania. I just think that at that point in wrestling in WWE, I think this is where Vince McMahon's starting to lose his touch a little bit and not knowing what we want to see on the card. I don't want to see Kane versus Great Khali on any card, let alone a WrestleMania. I do not want to see a haircut match unless the haircut match is like somebody who's like has the most longest hair, his powers are in his hair and all that stuff, and he has a feud with some guy that's like a barber, like Brutus the Barber Beefcake. That's the only time I want to see a haircut match. I do not care about this event. This is one of the WrestleManias. Actually, I'm sorry, I watched all of them. I fast forward to the good parts on this one because I was like, the only really two good parts about this is Money in the Bank, where I thought this is where they were going to give Mr. Kennedy a world title shot, but it looked, because of the injuries and stuff with Randy Orton, things changed. The John Cena match, I watched that because it's John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and it was a great match. The only thing that I was reading an article about was apparently this was supposed to be John Cena versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, which would have been just as amazing. Triple threat matches are one of my favorites. So yeah, WrestleMania 23, all of us, very few times in this episode have we all agreed, but we all agreed it's a big poopy scoopy. Let's get to the last question of the show. I'm going to open it with you, Diamond Dallas Barb. And what is a dream match during this Ruthless Aggression era of WrestleMania 19 to 24 that you wish happened at WrestleMania that did not?
Okay, so I think I'm gonna take a different approach, because at this point in time, I feel like a lot of dream matches have happened, and if they hadn't already happened, they definitely did take place. And I am going to go a little different route than people might expect. I'm going to have to go with Trish Stratus versus Lita, and Lita taking Christy Hemi's spot. That match, Christy Hemme versus Trish Stratus, was pretty awful. Let's just say it that way. But in that whole storyline, Lita came back to train Christy Hemme. And unfortunately, Lita was plagued with a really bad knee injury and everything like that. And a year prior to this WrestleMania, these two women, Lita and Trish Stratus, tore the house down by competing in the main event of Raw, showcasing women's wrestling in its entirety. And they had a classic of a match. And their rivalry is one of the best female rivalries, probably the best female rivalry ever in wrestling history. So for them never to have that match, that singles match, to kind of go, for them to have, how do I put this? For them to have that match on WrestleMania is just horrible. And I feel like these two women would have literally topped their previous match, that was that women's title match that happened on Raw. And I'm sad that I never got to see Trish versus Lita at WrestleMania.
That is a fantastic pick. I mean, that's one match that I wish, not just like, now I'm not saying anything bad, so don't get it twisted before you hear what I'm going to say. I think a lot more women would have loved that match, and the men would have loved it too. I think it's those two women, Trish and Lita, their characters, who they were. I mean, Trish was very clean cut, whatever. Lita was kind of like punk rock, tattoos, this and that. They kind of are what's going on in wrestling now with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, how they both look. If you look at both of them, it's sad this match never happened at WrestleMania. It probably would have been perfect at WrestleMania. Well, it could have saved the show at WrestleMania 23, in my opinion. But wrestling during time in the Ruthless Aggression era, they were getting things to that point of women's wrestling, but there still was like a huge push that needed to happen. Luckily enough, it was a 4 horsewoman later on, but great pick. I would have loved this match. I don't think anybody would have been upset. Wrestling purists would have liked it. People that are just fans of both Lita and Trish would have loved it. Everybody in the arena that is at the event would have loved it. Great pick. I love that match. Joe,
Thank
you're welcome. Whoa. Well, you think I'd never say great pick to you? You're over here like, thank you. Wow, I've never heard you say that before. I've said great pick to you. Don't worry. Well, that is a great pick. I really like that pick a lot. Joe Dallas, what was your pick for a WrestleMania match that you wish happened in this era of the Ruthless Aggression era, 19 to 24? What was your pick there?
I was thinking about it, and I think Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero would have been an amazing match at WrestleMania. I heard a rumor that it was supposed to happen, but then Eddie had passed away, so it never actually happened. But I think that would have been like right up there with Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, Jericho, Shawn Michaels. It would have been right up there as one of the best matches, probably maybe one of the top matches of all time, but at least probably the best match Shawn Michaels may have had. It'd be right up there with Kurt Angle and Jericho.
Yeah, this is one, I research things different ways. I go on Wikipedia. I try to stay away from the dirt sheets because they always spoil something for me. You dirty dirt sheets, but whatever. Sometimes I go to them, and then I go to Reddit, and this is one of the matches that popped up a lot during this time of the Ruthless Aggression era. Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero, and I think it's for two different reasons. One, this is during Shawn Michaels' second resurgence, because you got to think about it. During the 90s, he was there. He was IC champion. He was WWE champion. At this point in his career, he did get a few titles, but he was kind of more so just push it, like, just, hey, I want to do this one more time and show my kids what I can do. And Eddie Guerrero at this point, he was on a huge resurgence of just writing the book. I have it. I lie, I cheat, I steal, or cheating, death, stealing life. The name of the book, and he was on a huge resurgence of getting a second chance on life. Sadly, Eddie Guerrero passed away, and we did not get this match. But this match would have been a fire starter. I think this would have started. Like, if you're doing this match at Mania, you're probably doing the rematch at SummerSlam, put it that way. And it would have been great just to see the Eddie Guerrero, Shawn Michaels reactions. I think Shawn Michaels was, if you haven't seen the Young Rock, Shawn Michaels wasn't the best person backstage. This was a time where he was growing amends and owning up to his mistakes. So this would have been a great match. Great pick also, Joe Dallas. I went a different route. No problem. I went a different route. And the reason I went a different route is I started kind of thinking about, I thought about the last episode, which we're doing, and thought about wrestling today. One thing that Triple H really prides himself on really well is long-term storytelling. And I thought about, well, what's a match out there that had the potential to be long-term storytelling, but it didn't end up that way? That match would have happened at WrestleMania 22 for at the time, I think it was World Heavyweight Championship at this time. It would have been Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. They fought each other at WrestleMania 21 in the opener of the show. How better to have them as the last match on WrestleMania 22? We got instead Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton. I think that was just a match they threw together because I think that all along the plan was for Eddie Guerrero to either have the championship around that time and be a face, fighting Rey Mysterio that's a face, or Rey Mysterio gets the belt and Eddie's the heel and turns on his friend. It had a lot of potential to be something huge for WWE. It would have been the first time ever at a wrestle. Barb can tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe she's going to, but I'm pretty sure it would have been the first time ever the two Latina American superstars, even Mexican American superstars, because they're both from Mexico. It would have been the first time they fought in the main event. And I would have loved to see this match again. Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. Their matches have been surprising me since the first Halloween Havoc that we saw Rey Mysterio in. They do great, and I love their matches. So that's the match I picked. Anybody got anything to say out there?
That's a great pick. That's all I want to say. That's a great pick.
We've had
great picks.
We've had great picks on this episode. Like I said, the Ruthless Aggression era. This era of wrestling, besides 23, has some of the best events out there. If you're going to watch and sit down and watch a bunch of WrestleManias, I strongly suggest 19 to 24. It's one of my favorites. There's a lot of matches out there that I would have picked because of how good this era is. And we have a few more episodes left till we get to the grand finale. So thank you for listening. Diamond Dallas Barb, I'm going to promote her right now. Diamond Dallas Barb, you can check her out on this TikTok page if you've got the TikTok-y thing. It's Chair Shots. She does Barbed Wire Fridays. It's right before SmackDown. She'll do trivia. She'll talk about the show. And as you can see, her wrestling knowledge is amazing. Maybe you can even ask her a question, try to stump her. And then Joe Dallas, you can check him also on the TikTok-y thing, just hanging out. Sometimes Barb will come in. They'll try to stump her in trivia in his live. And they just, he just has a bunch of different wrestling fans coming in there being friends. Do you guys want to say anything or promote anything before we end the show?
I'm just going to say thank you for having me. It's been fun. And you ever need somebody to fill in for Dunbar again, I'm here.
The Crowd Chant Chronicles community is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what it is. Somebody asked me when I first did this, like, what are you going to have the same 3 people on every time? And I said, absolutely not. He said, what do you mean? I says, you ever see a crowd at a wrestling show? He goes, yeah. I says, some of those people you wouldn't even know are friends and are all in the same section and bought the whole section. One day I hope that I can have a Crowd Chant Chronicles, like, together, all of us at an outing and be like, look at every single person I've had on the show. There's now 60 different people I've had on the show. So thank you for coming in. There's no fill-in for anybody. Everybody's welcome. That's how we do it here on the Crowd Chant Chronicles. Barb, anything you want to say?
It's a friendship.
All right, to friendship. That was that's
There
the
we go.
shortest thing you've ever said on the show ever, and I love that moment. Thank you for listening to the Crowd Chant Chronicles. This has been our WrestleMania series. We're now episode 4 of the Ruthless Aggression. We have way more to go, so please listen to the rest and have a great day. Goodbye. And since Ric Flair retired, I'm going to do it one time that I've never done it on here. I think I know. This is the episode that Ric Flair retired from wrestling history. I'm going to do it. Woo!